Hi, everybody. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the question, who am I? And we've got quite a few points to cover. We've got teachers who have brought this forward question, the inner guru, our senses, atman. We're going to talk a little bit about spirit. We're going to go through the ego, and just how all of those things connect, basically. So first of all, and I want to bring this as something that I want to do with all of the videos, which is encourage you to answer the question in the comment section. And then when the video is over, go back and comment again. And if anything has changed or what you've taken from it, just to help you solidify this and to give me an idea of, I love to hear about what inspires other people. This is always something I felt like I missed from my yoga teacher trainings was, all of my others, peers, what were their answers to this question? So you can also subscribe, obviously. That helps us, and hopefully you enjoy our content and this is important to you and you love to keep this at the top of your consciousness, and this information is as important to you as it is to me. So who am I is a very big question in yoga, and in many ways it's kind of the ultimate question of yoga. It is brought forward in pretty much every intellectual space, but also in the silent spaces. So a lot of the teachers who teach this, they ask you to teach it and to find it in the silent space of meditation. So teachers like Maharishi and Patanjali's, almost all of their writing, all of their exploration, their experience is centered around this question. Almost all of yoga is centered around this question of who am I? And at a certain level, you could even say, who are we? Or who am I at, the largest level? And exploring that is where we find the transcendence of yoga. It is in that question that the transcendence lies, and that the gateway into the relaxation, the contentment of yoga lies. So when we first ask this question, the obvious answer for many people, I'm me, I'm my body, I'm me, I'm my personality, I'm my life experience. My name is so-and-so, and I'm this many years old, and I live here, right? True. And what else? And this is, for before the consciousness of yoga is established, this is about as far as we go. Is just this external, divided personality of who we are. And this actually, it causes stress when we think about it. So from this perspective, we are disconnected, we are alone, And we are in an ever moving, striving for the individual personality's attainment of this material world. We become caught up in our success, our beauty, our financials, our the drama of everyday life, and with it, all of the pain and the suffering of it. You know, even in attaining all of it, you know, even if we get all of these things in life, sometimes this is even, you know, the harshest. We actually see some of the people who struggle the most are the ones who attain it. So if all of those things that our physical personality is striving for doesn't give us that satisfaction, then where and how are we supposed to find that satisfaction? And it's through this question and the yogic understanding and exploration of it that we really start to uncover this satisfaction within life. And when we come to this question in our meditation, and it is recommended to, I'm even tempted to say stop this video here and meditate for 20 minutes on the yogic perspective of who am I deeper than your personality, your ego, your physical body. Shara. Sharira. I speak English. This is a very old concept that is really important for us to understand. Because when we delve into it, we actually unlock a connection outwards and deeper inwards. So when we close our eyes and we go inside and we go deep, deep down into the silence, into this space of meditation, we can find the nothingness of the universe. We can find the space, the darkness of space. And that very much is a more accurate representation of who we are than just a singular face. When we look at science, when we look at, you know, the movement of particles, of cells, when we look at, you know, where we come from as being connected to a line of family members, that we could not possibly be here on earth without those connections, and without another connection, we won't go into the future. We realize that without the water in our bodies that comes and goes through us, 75% of us wouldn't exist. We recognize that the water without the particles that make it would not exist. We recognize that the breath that we take in, the energy that we use to move, the carbon that makes up our physical frame other than the water, without all of that, what are we? And if we could say that once those things exit our physical frame, are they still a part of us? Like when we're leaving little pieces of skin cells around, like are those still part of us? Like at what point do they stop being part of us? Like where is the cutoff? Or is that always us? And if that is always us, then to say that I am the ocean, to say that I am the skies, to say that I have always been on earth and I always will be on earth. And that earth is an extension of me, is entirely factually sound. And in fact, a more calming and reasonable explanation to our hearts and minds in that it limits the suffering, because we look outside of ourselves in a way that aids our compassion, because we're hardwired to look after our own body, to look after ourselves. So if we were able to see all corners of our planet as ourself, imagine how we would shift looking at each other. We know that when we take from each other, we're only taking from ourselves. This would create a movement, and so very well it has, and it does, and it continues to. When we move, when we share this thinking with each other, and we bring each other into this understanding, we see miraculous changes in people that cause them to really find the joy of living, because they're not just living for their own gain anymore. They're living for the gain and the well-being of each other. And it's through that that we really find the satisfaction of being, of living. That relaxation of yoga is through that living for each other, for others, through the guise of living for ourselves. So our five senses and our indriya are what we use to experience life around us. But one of the things that we can say for sure, because we know that blindness exists, we know that people go deaf, we know that there is color blindness. So what we don't know that everybody sees colors the same way. We don't know if everyone sees this plant in the same green. And because we know that the body that we're in doesn't truly receive all of that information correctly as it actually is, and that everything that we're experiencing is a creation inside of us, inside our receptive and perceptive vehicle. But it doesn't even, we've got dysmorphia from time to time. We don't even truly see our own bodies for some people. So when we recognize that, we understand that we actually have to go deeper if we want to truly understand who we are. We can only go as far as, for some people, as the mind, our manas. And our mind is something that is created from our experience, from the teachers that we have around us, from our shamas, from our reading, from the places that we go. Our inspiration and our influences creates our manas. But if you sat in a dark room all your life and were fed lies, you would still be the universe, even though you had never seen your body, even though you had been told your entire life that up is down, and oranges have feathers. Okay. So we can't say that we can't we can't trust our ideals, our manas, and we can't trust our indra, our senses. So we have to find another way to understand who and what we are. And that's only through the truth of shared finding, and through this internal space, this depth of knowing that we find this truth. So our buddhi, or our individual consciousness, and buddhi is where we get the word Buddha, and it is the exploration of the individual consciousness. But it's a little bit more than that too. It is the part of us that it's the angel on the shoulder in a lot of ways. It is the little part of us that says, and people will paint ego as the little devil on your shoulder, and I would actually go as far as to say that that's the physical body. And the reason that I would say that is because the physical body is a little bit more simplistic in that it requires, sometimes it has to force energy to transfer in order for it to survive. So it's come up with all of these not so pleasant tactics for forcing those changes and those transfers to happen for its own benefit. So we get greed, we get, lies, we get stealing, we get rage, we get all of these things which are all protecting your physical body. And that's not to say that the physical body is not good. It's to say that the primitive, it's evolving. And it is evolving through the direction and the correction of the buddhi. So the buddhi is a guide for the individual being that aligns us with higher values and asks us to make choices for our own life that bring us to higher awareness and consciousness. It's a heart. It's the voice that says, well, we could steal now, but that would hurt me. That would hurt you. And instead, I would prefer to give it back. Right? This is the buddhi. This is the better knowing. It's also our gut instinct that says, maybe don't walk down this street right now. Protect yourself. It's the voice of excellence that sometimes is hard to listen. It's the one that's like, go on a diet. You should drink some water. Wow, it's really a time for getting some sleep, maybe. It's a general part of us that guides us into betterment. It's a teacher. It's really somewhat like the inner guru, a little different. And we can hear it, I think, especially when we are at a crossroads of choices where we have our physical body telling us to do something that is for self-gain but might hurt others. The buddhi also, it's looking after us. It wants us to do better in life. And the ego, or the physical body, it has to be self-protective. And it's through that self-protective nature that it has evolved to a point where it can start its journey towards this realization of these ideals. where it can start its journey towards this higher understanding of who am I. And that's why we say we have this density difference of, when we're only able to recognize our physical body and our ego as who we are, we tend to do things that hurt others easy. And we can't understand why that would possibly be a problem other than to other people, but that seems less important because it is through that we have evolved. However, it is also in our design to question if that is possible and to improve on things. We always have iPhone updates because we want to improve things. We're always making new technology because we want to improve things. And we're coming up with new philosophy because we want to improve things. And human life is all about comfort. It's all about creating lives that are better. We want more comfortable shoes. We want more comfortable houses. We want more beautiful environments. We want better art. We want, things that make our life better. And it is this higher thinking makes our lives better. And it makes other people's lives better. And by making other people's lives better, it makes our own life better. And so when we move forward on this question of who am I, we also kind of was like, okay, well, maybe I'm my soul. And our soul it's an idea that every religion shares. And every philosophy too. And across every culture and person, this idea of a soul or a spirit exists. And this is because we are all in contact. We're all talking. The entire planet really, truly is really sharing the same thoughts and teachers and beliefs. Even though some of them are different, they're not fundamentally different. They have different names for the same idea, is essentially what people are, back and forth about. Is like, oh no, it's called this. Oh, it's called this. No, it's called this. Yeah, well, we also probably have a couple different names for plants. There's some plants that have like 16 different names, but at the end of the day, it's the same plant. So this is the same, really, when we look at the soul and we try to understand that. So we say, maybe I'm a soul, maybe I'm the energy, the consciousness, the imprint of my time and experience on this planet. And that is also true to a level. This is another, so we've got our physical body and our ego and our mind, and we have our soul. And the soul is also elusive too, though, because the soul, while it is a seat of essence of ourselves, and it captures our story, and it captures the things that belong to us. It captures the movements and personality and energies and potential thoughts of us. Without physically being there, we can have a connection to our spirit and our soul from many times ago, through memory, through bringing that experience back. We can access our souls. But the soul is just a part of us, right? It doesn't capture the physical being. then that's, that's why we can connect deeper to people that are no longer physically with us, even if they're on the other side of the world, right? Or they're far away from us through death, through circumstances in life. They're not able to be presently there with us. We can still connect with those people through the idea of them, through the energy of them, through the concept of them. It's the reason why you can fall in love with someone through their pictures. They say that the soul resides in a picture, and this is because a part of us is within our image, is within the things that we touch and move and belong to us. But we are still not those things, because there's more. We're more than that still. We also have our atman. And when we get to this level of atman, by the time that we're here, by the time that we've come from the physical body and the buddhi and the manas and the indra, and we've come through the soul, and we get to the atman, and we recognize that we are this non-changing, ever-present, experiential being that is able to watch and perceive our realities without needing to be involved in them entirely. So this is a form of spiritual detachment from the form. And if you've ever had a DMT experience or had a close to death experience, then you'll have this detachment space where you will move away from yourself and able to see yourself respectively as if from another personality. And this atman is able to make correct judgments and predictions of ourselves, because it's connected deeper and to most, if not all, other beings, and it watches from the perspective of others. And we get a clearer snapshot of our ego and our physical body through this atman. And of course, our Brahman, which is this universal self, which is this space where we realize the interconnectedness of all creatures and life through intergenerational connections, where we can trace every being back to the first organisms that came up on Earth, and recognize that we are all here because we are connected to each other, because we are connected to the ocean, because we are connected to the air, because we are connected to the sun energy, and the sun energy connected to the Big Bang, to the galaxies. And that all of our thinking is really built from each other and influenced from each other, and that our senses evolved because of each other, and that who we physically are, who we mentally are, who we spiritually are, and who we who we are at the deepest level is universally connected and shared between all beings. And when we get to this space of understanding at a core level, when we've meditated on this idea for enough time and put our minds into this vessel of thinking enough, this Brahman, this Atman, this universal self, we become more compassionate automatically. There's no possibility to be anything but compassionate for ourselves. within the other. There is no opportunity to be anything other than helpful and kind to the others, because we're instinctually wired to help ourselves. We become compassionate, we become helpful, we become considerate, we become telepathic even. We start to be able to read and understand each other to a deeper degree. But we also become relaxed in the knowing that all the things that happen to this individual body is like watching TV. It's like a sitcom, it's a drama. Of course it's exciting. And when we cry for it, we don't cry as it, but we are watching a drama. And we can come back and go and do the rest of our things and not be bothered by that any longer, because we're able to release it. And this is severely relaxing for people, especially ones who are going through very challenging times, through war, through poverty, through abuse. You can use this transcendental wisdom to create peace and relaxation and fearlessness, knowing that you are eternal and you are stably here, and you have access to all of the joy and all of the pleasure and all of the wonders and richness of the universe. And so too, you are not held to your suffering. It is not yours alone. Everyone shares it. You are no longer alone in your discomfort. It is everyone's burden to bear. And when we become aware of this, we instantly desire, as a collective, to heal each other. And so we can begin the pleasure of living, of self-care. And each other's burdens really become the same as a crink in a back, or a stubbed toe, or a rolled ankle. It becomes something that we wish to heal for ourselves in each other's, because we feel that pain all together within the body of unity. And so then we start the yoga of healing, the kriyas of healing, of how can we heal each other and heal ourselves, knowing that through this self-care, through this self-healing, by healing others, we are really truly understanding at the deepest level the who am I. Thank you so much for joining me to have this thought and this space to explore this understanding. I hope that you take it with you into the rest of your day, and it inspires you to find some time to meditate with this thought and dive deeper into what this means for you and for your actions into the future. Thank you so much. Namaste.